I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, January the 9th, brought to you in part by VitaFirm. VitaFirm is a line of beef cattle nutrition supplements purposefully crafted to maximize energy and forage utilization at every stage of production. Profitability against all odds. For more information, go to vitafirm.com. Also, Beaver County Stockyards. Tell you what, it got pretty nasty up there in no man's land on Monday. They're on the eastern end of the Oklahoma Panhandle there. It was actually a little bit worse to the west and to the north there. But they had snow, and it was blowing blizzard type snow, really brutal there. But really almost impossible to try to get cattle in there for the sale. They have postponed their regular Tuesday sale. We'll not be having a sale here today on Tuesday. They postponed that until Friday. So they should have probably be under curbed receipts, but they will sell the cattle that they had scheduled for sale here on Tuesday. They will sell those on Friday. Old man winter. We hadn't seen winter, a lot of us hadn't. Of course, they'd seen it up in the northern plains a couple of times, a few skiffs come through, but this is the biggest storm we've seen, and covering a big area. I tell you what, from the Texas Panhandle and eastern New Mexico all the way up to the northern plains, and perhaps Kansas got the worst of it. Just right pure blizzard conditions in Kansas. Several highways closed in Kansas, including I-70 from Salina all the way west to Colorado. That's a lot of road to be closed, and a big one there. But a lot of packing plants had to curb back on their B shift on Monday. A lot of them likely will not have an A shift on Tuesday here, and so that's going to back things up. And I tell you what, as short as these packers are on product, they might get hungry here later in the week, and it's supposed to kind of clear up a little bit. And the old saying is the fat cattle market loves the storm because the cattle feeders don't like a storm, but the market likes a storm. It sucks weight off the cattle, makes your packers a little more hungry. And so we should be able to keep at least steady or higher money here later this week, and I'll tell you about what all the fat cattle market was last week. But I talked to buyers on Monday morning, and I got both ends of the spectrum. Of course, I talked to some buyers that said all their orders pulled their bids, and so they didn't even go to the sale. And then I talked to other buyers that braved the weather, even up in Iowa and Nebraska, braved the weather to get to the sale because they had so many orders they couldn't afford not to get there. And so it was both ways. And cattle handle the cold pretty well. We've talked about that a lot. Cold and wet, not quite so much. Cold and wet and being under stress from having to be moved either to the sale or from the sale or to a new home, not so much. But it's probably the way that the weather's affecting the people that are trying to take care of those cattle and move them. That caused a lot of feeder cattle buyers to pull their bids on Monday. They may come back into the market on Tuesday, but if you're up in the air on whether to sell cattle or not, this will probably not be the best week to sell them. Next week will probably be better. Pick a sunshiny day when they're going to have a sale at your favorite auction that's going to have a lot of other impressive reputation consignments, and build around those, and that would be the best time to sell your cattle. There will be more sales postponed and canceled here besides Beaver County Stockyards that I talked about. You get up into Kansas, I would say there's not going to be too many sales in Kansas this week, not until later in the week anyway. Let's talk about your board for Monday to open the week. February live cattle futures down 62 cents at 169.95. April was down 37 at 173.02. Your back months were down 17 to as much as 90 cents lower. January feeder cattle were up 75 cents at 223.87. March was up 92, 225.07. Back months were mixed, from down 22 cents to up 77. March corn down 5 3/4 cents at $4.55 a bushel. Sounds pretty cheap compared to what we were looking at but last summer, or actually last spring for sure. About January beans down 10 1/4, $12.39 1/2. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for March down 12 3/4 cents at $6.15 1/4. Your weighted average on last week's negotiated fed cattle movement in your 5-area feeding region was 55,100, slightly larger than the 51,900 the holiday week before, and a little bit less than the 56,200 the same week a year ago. All of those are dismal movements. We need to be close to 100,000 to even think we're having a very active market at all. Your live sales in the 5-area on fed steers and heifers was 172 to 175 1/2. In the southern plains, it was steady to a buck higher, from 172 to 173. In the northern plains, it was $1 to $3 higher, from 173 to 175. The southern plains kept thinking they were going to get some 175. We saw some 174.75 on the Fed Cattle Exchange under competitive bidding on the Bid the Grid, but that was on some half-blood dairy cattle that the packers are really fond of there. But your weighted average on live steers in the 5-area feeding region was 174.01. That was $1.77 higher than the previous week's weighted average. So we gained ground. Dress sales ranged from 272 to 276. In the northern plains, it was largely 274 to 275 1/2, and that was $1 to $2.50 higher. Your weighted average on dress steers in the 5-area was 274.78, $1.91 higher than the weighted average on dress steers a week ago. Nationwide, we sold 69,500 negotiated, compared to 64,800 the previous week and 73,700 the same week a year ago. Of those 69,500 nationwide negotiated sales, about 32% of them, or just under 22,000 of them, were for the 15 to 30 day delivery, and that's pretty typical to what we normally see. Negotiated grid sales nationwide were 42,700. Forward contract sales were 13,500 last week, and formula sales were rather light at just 213,400 head. Your negotiated is the only place you can really know what's going on. So where the rubber meets the road, it's the only place you find any competition. Last week, Iowa sold 23,500. Nebraska sold 23,900. That's light for both of them. Kansas only 4,750, and Texas only 3,000 head sold negotiated. It's just getting so thin down there. We're about out of price discovery in the southern plains, guys. Box beef cutout values. Choice on Monday afternoon was up 167 at 278.83. Selects were down 17 at 259.36. Your slaughter was light, and I think that's probably due to the weather. 115,000 for Monday is all, compared to 127,000 the same week a year ago. So we're running light on that, like we have been here for several months. Talk about what else is going on. Your night latch group, which is Andy and Codell Cunningham there in western Oklahoma, they would like your business for your risk management, both on crops and livestock. They do all the livestock policies. They do crop insurance. They have the lack of rainfall insurance that a lot of people are using. On the livestock policies, they prefer the livestock gross margin. They have the LRPs, but they would like to show you how the gross margin policies work, and they figured out how to make them work pretty well. For more information, go to nightlatch.net. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DVAuction. Late in the day on Monday, through Monday's sales, was sitting at 227.99, down 77 cents, but not as bad as I thought it might be, down for the day. Latest CME cash feeder cattle index that came out was 229.02. It'll be falling as soon as it gets into those Monday sales. Your big sales on Monday. Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City had 14,000. The weather was unfortunate for them having such a big run. I was coming back through Oklahoma City from being in southwest Missouri over the weekend, coming back through there on Sunday, and there were goosenecks and trucks running in every which direction. Everybody was scrambling to get cattle in there because they hadn't sold them for a couple of weeks because they were closed over the holidays. But big run for Oklahoma City, 14,000 head. The market was lower. Feeders were $3 to $8 lower. Calves $2 to $5 lower, entirely due to the snowstorm, and not necessarily the storm in and around Oklahoma City, but where those cattle were going is why the market was so much lower. They did have some stick-out sales that were really impressive, including 256 head of 501-pound thin steer calves, bring 315 in Oklahoma City. That's a big price for anywhere, guys. How about Joplin Regional Stockyards? 8,200 head. They underestimated, only expecting 6,500 head. Probably wish they'd only had 6,500 head, but 8,200 head compared to the huge sale that they had last week, which they held on Tuesday. But feeder steers in Joplin. Now this is compared to a sharply higher market the week before. Oklahoma City didn't have a sale the week before. They were comparing to before the holidays, but Joplin's compared to the market that they had last Tuesday, which was sharply higher. And feeder steers are $3 to $10 lower this week. Feeder heifers were $7 to $12 lower, and that's including the calves also. But show you what your market is in the lower Midwest, and this is kind of a storm market. But tell you what it was on Monday. Your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day was Joplin Regional Stockyards. It's well tested. 751 head of 5-weight steers, average 556, with a weighted average price of $260.41. 1,015 head of 6-weight steers in Joplin, average 646 at $232.64. 851 head of 7-weight steers, average 738 with a weighted average price of $216.99. And 1,442 head of 8-weight steers, Carthage, Missouri at Joplin Regional Stockyards, averaged 839 at $212.13. Look at the heifers. 471 head of 4-weight heifer calves, average 458 at $226.67. 880 head of 5-weight heifers, average 551 at $219.63. 914 head of 6-weight heifers in Joplin, average 646 at $207.49. And 465 head of 7-weight heifers, average 738 pounds with a weighted average price of $197.63. Give you a couple individual quotes from around. How about Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota? DVAuction broadcaster there. They sold 60 head of steers, weighed these were heifers, 60 head of heifers, weighed 611 at $239. Thought that was impressive. It was a steer price in most places. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Monday, your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Sugar Valley Stockyards in Gearing, Nebraska. 50 head, 834-pound steers, bring $239. That's your feeder flash for Tuesday.